Hi, my name's Glenn. This is Karen, my wife, and this is our bus. Hello everyone, Glenn Dimon here, working on the bus, of course, and what else would I be doing? So I'm working on the bus here, and I've got my tanks in from a custom, these are Class A Customs tanks. This particular one is a 125 gallon tank, and theoretically these tanks can be set on any side. So this 125 gallon tank is 18 inches tall, about 26 inches wide, and 60 inches deep, I believe, or 64 inches deep. Being that these tanks could be set on any side, and what I had planned on doing was taking this tank and putting it on its 18-inch side so that it would be 26 inches tall and 18 inches wide and then 64 inches long, and then lay it across this way. I had planned to cut this assembly here over and down, which would get the tank right up against this, which would then also be up against this, and the tank would extend back in behind this support here, and the end of the tank would be in this hollow space where I could come out of the end of the tank with the pipe, elbow over, and put a door on the outside here to access for hooking the sewer hoses to and stuff like that, for when you're hooked up in a park or whatever, or when you're draining the tanks. So then if I was to do that, it would come clear up to about here. It would block this entire end of the bay, but it would be about 4 inches back or 6 inches back or so from the door back here. And the advantage of that would be that I could still open this door all the way up, and I could still get in and access that junction box. So then my other tank, my freshwater tank, which is just sitting right here, which is 50 inches long, 18 inches by 26 inches, that tank would sit at a T to this tank. So this tank would be going across, that tank over there would go that way, also sitting on its 18-inch edge, enabling me to climb in on either side of that tank to get to these things that I need to get to in here. The problem is, now that I've got the tank here at my house, the tanks have these ribs on them. As you can see here, they're about an inch or so deep, maybe an inch and a half deep. There's 4 on each side of the tank, and if the tank sits on this side, then these ribs won't allow water or fluids to pass from one rib to the next. In other words, you wouldn't be able to completely drain the tank. So that is a problem. So I thought that maybe I could take the tank, anyway, the ribs like this here, you can see. I thought I could take the tank and maybe fill the bottom inch with plastic, liquid plastic like epoxy or something, so that the whole bottom would be flat inside the tank. The problem is there's no guarantee that epoxy or whatever I would pour in there would even stick to this plastic. It might end up jarring loose after a while, and then I'll have just nothing but problems. And so that's a real drawback with these tanks. I mean, the website showed the pictures of them, but it's just something that it just didn't dawn on me until I actually pulled it out of the box and I set it in the position I would want it to go, and then it hit me and I realized that it can't drain completely. And then who wants a bunch of ribs on the bottom of their black water tank? It's black water mixed gray water tank where you can't even drain it, and who knows if stuff will even pass over from one rib to the next and stuff like that. So now I'm having to rethink this whole thing, and I don't want to take the tanks back I've already lost too much time on this deal. So I'm thinking about going ahead and putting this tank in this position that I've got sitting in here now for the most part. Be over that way just a little bit. Then this door would still open. The tank would sit here. I would still have plenty of room to crawl in on this other side to get to this junction box. Plus it wouldn't really be obstructed up here anyway, so that could work out pretty good. And then I could still put my outlet of the tank, come out here, over, turn, and go out the side of the bus here and put a door on the outside of the bus in order to be able to access all that stuff. And because this tank's kind of locked in to its location because of the bathroom, the toilet is right about here where it's going to come down. It's just going to drop straight into the tank right there. And theoretically it would work, but the problem is I wouldn't be able to put my freshwater tank in the same bay that I wanted to do. So I'll probably end up taking the freshwater tank here and install it over on this other side. Anyway, it's very, very frustrating. This tank probably wouldn't bother me so much if it was sitting up on its side. I wouldn't worry too much about having to drain every bit of water out, but I don't know, it could get stagnant in there. It'll probably end up having to be in the same position. So those ribs in the tank are a real drawback. Short of sending them back and get new tanks, but I'm just not going to do all that. I'll just make them work. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on today. So I'm having a little bit of analysis paralysis with this thing, and I really need to get these tanks in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, put that tank the way that is, and reposition this one somehow in there, and install it in this bay over here. And I still have another full bay that's completely empty, so this bay I could still put my electric stuff in there. And matter of fact, over here I could even section off this corner here, right in here, all the way to the ceiling, and seal it off and put my 2 propane tanks in here so they would be accessible from this side of the bus, and then put a ventilation opening through the floor or whatever. Then I'd still have some storage room in and around the tank, which this tank is not intended to be a wastewater tank. It's worst case scenario, it's supposed to be a gray water tank, but either way I'm going to use it anyway. And so what I plan on doing is I need to pull this insulation board and all this stuff out of here and do some more sealing on the floor of the bay before I permanently install this and then permanently install the tank. So when I put all this stuff in, it was like 15 degrees outside. I couldn't do anything to seal the bottom because nothing would work it in that kind of cold weather. So now that it's kind of warmed up, except of course it's supposed to get, tomorrow it's supposed to get down to like 10 degrees again for another week or 2 or whatever. And so we have a couple of nice days here. So I'm hoping to do enough of this now while the weather's nice before it gets super cold again, so I can proceed with this outdoor stuff. This shower drain here will be able to come over and just drop right into this end of the tank. And I want to put it on this end of the tank so that it'll kind of work as a washout, so that it's dropping in at this end because the drain's going to be on the opposite end. And then come back over to this side again. Then that also has a vent on it as well, so that way it's venting the opposite side of the tank. And then this drain here at this end, this is the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink. This will come down and drop here in this end, and there won't be much to that drain. And then the toilet is going to come down about right here, right into the corner. Anyway, of course that's going to drop in right above where I'm going to tie in my drain, but that's just how it's going to have to be. So the drain is going to tie into the bottom of the tank on the side over here. It's going to come over and then out, and it'll come out the side of the bus here. The way I've got this set up now, being that I've changed the position of this tank and how I was going to use it. Now I can go ahead and put my valve here for opening the drain and everything, so I won't have to really install a big door on this thing like I originally planned on. So I'm just going to have my drain come out the side here and hook the hose on and everything. I don't want to go through the floor with that, because then as the bus settles down, the hose ends up a little bit too low, and then you got these uphill battles and stuff, and so I just want it to come out right out the side. With this tank, I also got these rubber inserts that you can drill a hole wherever you want in the tank. You pop this insert in, and then you can pop your pipe in wherever you want. And for the toilet drain, this will pop in somewhere over in here, and then you have to kind of lubricate that one because it's so large, and that pipe goes in super tight and fits right into the tank there. And then the same thing for the drain that's going to be on the side over here. Of course, it'll be, you know, like this, but on the side. And I'm going to try to get that as low as I can, and as far into the corners I can, so that the water drains out as well as can be. So then also with this tank, I got these deals here that you install in the sides of the tank. I believe you put them in like you put one up like towards the top, one down here, and then there's one down here that's a ground, and then anyway, and all that wires up and it connects. Eventually, this is the wiring harness they give you with that. Not much to it lengthwise, but anyway, then I got this little indicator here that indicates your wastewater tank, your freshwater tank, and your battery. That's all the stuff that I got with this tank to adapt it onto what I'm going to be using it for. So I don't have a lot of money into these tanks. They weren't really that expensive. They were about 350 bucks each. I think I had about $800 into it total by the time I bought all this stuff, and that's for both tanks. So I'll use it as best I can. If something happens and it doesn't work out later, I'll just have to rip it out and rethink this whole thing. But I really want to get this thing going, and I think it's going to work fine. But just if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. So anyway, so that's what I'll be working on, and hopefully I'll get some of that done. I'll pull these panels out, seal the bottom of the bus. Hopefully it'll dry. I'll go ahead and put these panels back over the top and install the tank, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I've got the flooring screwed back down. I didn't have enough foam with me to completely foam the whole bottom, and I don't really know that that was all that necessary anyway. So what I did is I foamed the entire perimeter of each sheet that went back into the foam anyway, and so that should pretty much seal off the bay. And then what I'll do here around the edge is I'll put in a piece of aluminum or something on here that'll come down, and I'll spray foam up under that edge. That way it'll be nicely sealed off. At least the air won't be able to get from the outside up under the insulation. Not that it's probably going to matter, except that the insulation doesn't technically go all the way to the outside wall. It's going to have a little gap and stuff like that, so it's not going to be very effective if it doesn't have anything around the perimeter. So anyway, so that's going to work pretty good, I think, and now I can go ahead and set my tank in here, get it sized up, figure out where I'm going to cut my holes in it, and kind of take it from there. So I've got the tank sitting in here again, so I'm going to go ahead and spin the tank around, and then I'm going to size it up. What I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to build a platform for this tank, being that it's just a flat bottom tank. It's not really intended for this application. So I'm going to give it a slope, a slight slope coming towards this end where the drain will be, as well as a slight slope this way, so that everything will lead towards the corner. Now I'm not going to be able to get the drain at the very, very bottom edge, but at least it'll be low enough to where it won't have a lot of standing water. And then of course you want to flush these tanks out anyway from time to time. You know, after you use it, you want to hose the thing out, and you can hose it out enough to where what little water's left in it is diluted enough, or even cleaned enough, or treated enough, I should say, so that it shouldn't be a problem. So anyway, so I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to go ahead and drill the hole through the floor for the toilet. I've been really kind of anxious about doing that, and I'll get that going, and I'll see where that's going to end up in relation to the tank, and so we'll see how that goes. Also want to cover the tank with plywood or something on the outside, just so you don't see the darkness of the contents. Okay, so a friend of mine at work, he goes, well, are you going to do something to blacken that tank? And I'm sure there's a reason why the tanks that are intended for this purpose are black, and it only makes sense, because I remember seeing some pictures online of people's tanks where they've done the same sort of a thing, and they're white, and they're full up to here, and it's all black and nasty looking, and I just don't want to see that. Yeah, I have a pretty strong stomach. It doesn't bother me, but I think it's just a good way of doing it. So I might even put heavy enough plywood on the top so I could even store stuff on top of it if I want to. I'm thinking that's where the tank is going to sit. I'd like to get it more this way if I could, but the way this is here, I can go ahead and put my valve in here with where I can open and close it, and it can just elbow over and come out the side here for my sewer to hook up, and it actually works out pretty well like that. There's a lot of things about this that don't work out, but that's one thing that does. And so that should work out to where I don't have to put a big door on this. That's pretty much where it's going to sit. I think I'll go ahead and drill the hole through the floor for the toilet. That way I can mark where that toilet's going to drop in, and see how that works. So this is a brand new Dometic toilet. I believe it's Dometic. Dometic Mobile Living, Made Easy, model 310. No, they don't sponsor me. I don't even get enough views for people to sponsor me. But anyway, but I paid about oh man, I don't remember, around 250 bucks for it. It's brand new. I really like the toilet because it has this this swirl that comes out like a regular toilet. It flushes off the sides, and that's kind of a neat feature. So, and it's got the soft close lid, and I do like the fact that the pedal's on this side, because it just so happens that works out with this boxing that I had to build here. So that is a pretty good position for it. The reason I'm putting it so far over is because I'm going to have a cabinet here coming out over and up that's going to be about 6 feet tall or whatever, and for linen and stuff like that. It'll create kind of a nice little alcove here, so you're kind of tucked away from view. And so a friend of mine has a country coach. It's like a 90-something country coach. I really like the way his is set up. His toilet is far enough away from the wall, so he actually has some cabinets that go up the back side here. And you know, I suppose a guy could do something like that. I hate to pull it out too much, and that's also going to affect how it's going to go through the floor. But I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and just drill a small pilot hole through the floor and just see how that comes out down below. I'll go ahead and drill a pilot hole through, see how it looks down below, and if it looks like I can move it forward a little bit, I will. But for all practical purposes, that's about where it's going to end up. Okay, so here's the hole, and so it lines up pretty much right here, which turns out is going to be right next to the outlet, but it really shouldn't matter, I guess, as long as, being that it's a black and gray water tank, it'll have plenty of other water in it besides just what comes through the toilet. So I think that's going to work out. So this here, I should be able to just drill a nice hole right here, and that'll drop me right into the tank, straight down. And that's the thing, is you can go a little bit of an angle with these. Like I could probably go to 45 and come over and stuff like that, but it just creates problems. With an RV toilet, it's just strictly a gravity, well, of course all toilets are gravity flow, but with an RV toilet, you don't have as much water flow behind everything as what you do with a standard house type toilet. So it just doesn't have the velocity of the water and things like that. So it's just better if you can go straight down. So I'm gonna go straight down right into the tank right here, and I think that's gonna work out pretty good. Okay, so what I've done here is I built this platform. This is upside down, but basically what this is, it's a platform for the tank, the wastewater tank. So it'll slope, once it's flipped over, it'll slope in 2 different directions. So basically, it'll sit on the bottom of the bus like that, so to go from about 1 inch to 2 inches, and then the other way it'll go from about 1/2 inch to 0, giving me a low point at this corner where the drain will go. So I think this is going to work pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and set that in the bus and see how it looks with the tank sitting on top of it. Okay, so basically it'll sit like this. So it's up 1/2 inch here, 0 to here, and of course it's about 1 inch here, and then it's about 2 inches down there. So from taking into account the thickness of the OSB here, it's about a good slope, or about a good 1 inch slope from the top highest corner to the lowest corner, and flat within itself. So it'll sit approximately like that. So everything should flow down this way and that way. Now that's assuming that the bus itself is level, which probably won't be the case half the time, but at least I'll have that working for me. So so I think that's going to work pretty good. And as I go here, I'll go ahead and start cutting the holes in the tank and mounting that kind of stuff. So okay, so I've got the tank outside here now in my shop, and unfortunately our cold weather has returned. It's supposed to get down into the teens tonight, and so another drawback from being able to use adhesives and things like that outside. So I won't be able to work on my solar panels for a while. So I figure I'd go ahead and just get this tank thing done. So what I'm going to do here, so this rubber grommet here takes a 4-inch hole saw, which I'm going to go ahead and cut. But before I do that, I'm going to cut a smaller hole in the area of where I'm going to put the grommet through, so I can put my finger in there and just kind of feel how far I'm getting from the inside edge, because I want this thing absolutely as low as I can get it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Then when I'm finished with this, when it's installed, it'll come out, it'll go towards the side of the bus there and terminate, and I'll have the shut-off valve and all that kind of stuff in there. So anyway, so go ahead and watch, and I'm going to go ahead and drill this hole, see how it comes out. If I ruin the tank, oh well, then I'll just have to go buy another one that actually works more to what I wanted it to do anyway. What's happening, sweetie?
Is that just one part of the clip that you're going to add to another part?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'll go ahead and drill the hole. Let everybody see what I'm doing here. Anyway, so I got to cut a 4-inch hole. Before I do that, I'm going to cut the smaller hole in here so I can see how far away from the edge I'm getting. What's the matter? You don't want to be on TV?
Yeah, I've been on TV.
Just anyway, where's the drill? Oh, there it is. Huh?
I did.
You what?
This is so satisfying. This is loaded.
Okay, so I've got the hole cut, and I'll have to deburr it here a little bit, but the way this worked out by the time that pipe goes in there and it expands that thing, it'll just hit the bottom of the tank or just be a little short of it. So worst case scenario, by the time I have the thickness of the pipe, I'm actually going to be about probably 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. So anyway, so I think it'll work. There just could be a problem with it gathering stuff and toilet paper and things, and but we'll just have to see how it does. And again, if it doesn't work, I'll just get another tank that is more suited. But anyway, but hopefully this will work okay, and I guess I'll find out when I start to use it. So what I did here with my Valterra, whatever it's called, valve setup here, is I took off the piece that that has the ears on it for attaching the hose, because I'm going to come right out of the tank with this thing. So this is going to basically just go right on there. So this fitting that I have on here now is the same size as the pipe itself, and so that's gonna, you got to soak this thing up or whatever. That's going to just shove right in there, and that's going to be just enough pipe. By the time that's in there and up against those bolt heads, maybe not even that far, I'll probably keep it out just a little bit from that, just to where it just penetrates the inside flush edge of the inside of this grommet. Okay, so I got some dish soap, Palmolive. No, I'm not sponsored by Palmolive. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and soap up the smaller of the two sides and shove that thing in there. Hopefully that's going to work for me. Boy. Man. May have to taper this out a little bit. Once it starts in there, it'll be all right. But boy, it won't even start in the hole there. Probably need to put a little more soap on it too. I didn't have that much. Kind of a tight wad when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't like spilling stuff all over the place. Boy, that thing's tight. Man, that is really tight. Tell you what, it's not coming out if I ever get it in. Got a pretty good taper on it there, but it won't even start in there, man. I wonder if I could start it a little bit. Start it a little bit and then shove it in there. Gosh. Looks like I could get it on there 1/8 of an inch. Then man, I thought I almost had it. So you can go on almost 1/4 of an inch before it hits the taper part that causes it to expand, but then it's just barely enough to get it to where you can't get it started in the hole. So maybe if I just barely start the piece in here where it's flush, then get this to go in before it hits the taper, maybe. Nope, just wants to push all the way in. This is crazy. It's almost like the hole needed to be 4 1/16 or something. Oh, man, almost got it. Wow, man, that sucker's tight. Turn it upwards. Shit. Wish I put more soap on it. There it is. It's in there plenty far. I want to pull it out a little bit. Maybe put a spacer between here just so I can get my fingers on this thing easier. But it can come out about another 3/4 of an inch or so. But man, that is a tight deal. Which is good, I guess, as long as I don't pull it out. Pull a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It just sticks it in there about an 1/8 of an inch. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just push it in there a little bit more. Should be good right where it is. Well, that was definitely a challenge. So I've got it in there. The inside of the pipe sticks out about 1/8 of an inch past the edge of the adapter, the grommet there, and which gives me about 3/4 of an inch, actually about 1 inch of space between the body of the tank and the valve assembly. So that should be fine. Okay. This, I think, is going to work really well. That thing is not, there's no way that thing could leak as tight as that is. Anyway, so that's the installation of the valve. Man, I'm glad I only got to do one of those, except of course I got to put the pipe in the top for the toilet, so that'll be fun. Actually, I thought at first that when I put this thing in there, like that pipe coming in the top, that I could always pop it out and if I had to change things up or whatever, but man, I don't ever want to try to pop that out. So I'm gonna make sure it's right when I put it in there the first time. So we'll see how the rest of that goes. Okay, so I'm back here inside the bus, and what I'm doing here is I'm gonna go ahead and drill the hole through the floor for the toilet flange. It'll go about right there. And I did move it forward about 1 inch further away from the wall, just so I could have a little more room there. There's plenty of room in the bathroom. It works really well for going down through and getting into the top of the tank where it needs to be. So the only problem is here is that at this point of the project, I need to start thinking about my floor coverings. So basically the flange, I'd rather the flange mount on top of the flooring. So, because I'm going to be putting down the, probably that Life, whatever it is down there at Home Depot, the vinyl plank flooring. And so I'll need to get some of that. And so I'll probably go ahead and install that in here before I actually finish this. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and drop the flange through the floor, line it up with the tank, and go ahead and put the hole in the tank and all that and have it ready, because I don't want to do this thing twice with as much trouble as I had putting that that adapter into that tank the first time. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so the that should work for the flange. I'll probably have to trim it out a little bit for this angled part here. I like to make the hole as small as I can, and this piece also is it's really not the right flange. It's the one where it's got the male end. I want the one with the female end, so I'm going to get a different one for that. But it's the same size hole basically. So I'm going to trim it out a little bit for this taper, probably with the Sawzall or something. And that should work really well. And then the hole is turned out to be right on the edge of the steel there, which is just right. So that's it for this stage. Now I can mark the top of the tank for this pipe. But I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and figure the piping from the tank to the outside of the bus where the hose will connect. I'd rather do that now, just in case I have to move the tank around a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can see all this. I'm going to cut a swath out of this piece here that is there for the bumper on the outside. The reason I'm going to do that is so that I end up with just this stainless siding here, and because I want that hole to go through just about where the edge of this flange is. I'm going to bolt this flange through the wall. So basically the outside of the bus will have this piece with the cap and everything on it. So that'll come through just about like that. So that way it should be, it's pretty low profile. It sticks out about the same as this bumper, and then the hose can just connect right onto that. Okay, so I'm wanting to finish up these videos on installing the tank. Quite a bit of time has gone by. It's been about 2 weeks since I worked on it last, but I really need to get this thing buttoned up. So what I've got here now, and I didn't produce a video on the whole thing, but what I've got now is I've got the pieces installed here. I drilled my 2.5-inch hole in the tank here. This piece here is the same basically as this piece, just a different color, but it's the same product, same concept. They just come in black or white. I went ahead and went with the white ones because they were out of the black ones, so I don't really care about that. And anyway, so this will receive the pipe for my kitchen and lavatory sink drain. So I'll shove that in there. Then I've got the other piece installed at the other end of the tank for the shower. So, which is kind of nice because I wanted the shower to be on the far end of the tank. So that way it just kind of helps wash across the bottom of the tank with some gray water there. And especially with this toilet being installed directly above these drains here. But anyway, I've got this exit piece completely installed. This worked out really well. I can hook my hose on here. I don't have to open my door to get the hose in. Plus, if you hook the hose, you know, if you go through the floor and hook the hose up underneath, then you just lose that height that sometimes that you need at some campgrounds or some drainage points. So that should work pretty good. And I might end up putting a cover over this just so this doesn't get all sun-baked, because this ABS is kind of subject to sun damage. So anyway, so I'll go ahead and show what it looks like on the inside. This is where the tank ended up. Of course, I got my base under there, which is all tapered in 2 different directions. I've got these plugs installed now, the upper right corner, lower left, and there's enough room for me to crawl back in here, which I needed to have just for being able to get to this junction box right here to my left. And anyway, so this is the finished product here at the tank exit. So this came out really good. Now, what I kind of wish I'd have done was put this the other way around, so this bolt would go through in the other direction. That way I could actually remove it. But if I did ever have to actually remove the bolt itself, I could always cut it off, you know, cut the bolts off, put them in the other way. But hopefully that'll last for many years. And this works really well for opening and closing the valve. And I think that's going to work pretty good. So I went ahead and installed the bathroom flooring. It's probably a little bit early in the process to install bathroom flooring, but I wanted my bathroom flooring to be under the toilet flange, and I wanted to finish this toilet flange up. So this came out pretty good. And this is a this is a snap together vinyl flooring from Home Depot, and it's 100% waterproof. It's vinyl, and this flooring doesn't even have to be acclimated with the, you know, whatever space you're installing it in. Although the packaging does say that it's not for installation in campers or RVs or obviously converted buses. But I'm not afraid of it. It wasn't really very expensive. It was only about $1.60 a square foot, and it really came out good. And again, it's 100% waterproof, so I think it's going to be just fine. I like the color. And so I've got my toilet flange installed. The toilet is going to sit in this direction here, and I think it really looks good. So I've got it back here to the edge of the closet that I'm building here, and then I still got to build my short little wall here. I'm going to have some wiring going into it, coming up inside that wall for switches for both the bathroom side and the bedroom side. And of course, we've got my pocket door here, and that's kind of what's happening here. And I've got some closets built back here, kind of started. And again, I'm not I mean, I can build just about anything, but I'm not a designer. And when it comes to woodworking, I'm really having a hard time deciding what kinds of wood and things like that to do or to use. But anyway, that's kind of the progress of everything. I'm going to use that same flooring in the rest of the kitchen. I went ahead and broke it up at the doorways anyway. And actually, it's going to be carpet in the bedroom, and it's going to be carpet from the end of the kitchen down this way. And I know a lot of people think carpet is ridiculous, but I am not one of those people. I love carpet. It's quiet, it's nice, and like I said, even if I have to replace it every once in a while, I'd rather have carpet than a hard floor all the way through. So I will go ahead and finish this tank installation out here. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and soap this up here, drop this in. I think that should be flexible enough. I should be able to flex it out enough to shove my last piece in there, I hope. This smaller pipe here, from what I've read and saw on YouTube, that it does go in a lot easier. This piece over here was extremely difficult to get in there. The other one at the bottom was hard enough, but I had it in the shop and under better conditions. This was quite a bit more difficult, and it probably would have been easier if I'd have just done it in 2 pieces and put in a rubber connector in between. I could always cut it off later and put one if I had to, but for now, it is what it is. Oh yeah, it's a lot easier. I'm gonna just go ahead and glue up both sides all at once. Hopefully it'll work. Oh yeah, beautiful. It's perfect. Now this one, I'm gonna measure this up first. Know where I want it there. Now, I think I'll put that, glue that on here first. So basically that's it for this wastewater tank video. I still have to fasten it down. I plan on maybe foaming it, putting some spray foam under around the edges, foam it to the wood. Then I'll eventually put a surround around it. But for now, it came out pretty good. Got my shower drain in, kitchen sink, bathroom sink, toilet, and that's pretty much it. There is a way to actually add a wash machine to this system if I decide to later on, but for now I'm not going to do that, and we don't plan on living in the bus, so but if we ever had to, we could. So for now, I think that's going to take care of this video. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.